Vice President of Student Affairs, and want to thank you all for joining us today. As I shared earlier, we'll be recording this session so that we have it as a training resource in the future. So if you can keep your microphones muted, that would be helpful. Yvette, I'm going to have everyone start first by doing an introduction in the chat box. So if you are in chat, if you could just send a note out, tell us who you are and what discipline that you teach in, so we can see who's here today. Okay, and so Yvette, do you think, welcome Karen. So yes, so go ahead and start introducing yourselves. We're going to start the presentation while you introduce yourselves to each other. And Yvette, I'm going to start and then you can start recording, okay? Okay, so I want to welcome everybody to our Student Rights and Responsibility presentation, and I want to introduce my co-presenters today. I'd like to introduce Yvette Strickling. She is our Student Rights and Responsibilities Program Analyst. Yvette's worked for 24 years in higher education. She's been a champion for access in education, and she played an instrumental role in establishing the behavior and intervention team. I also want to welcome Dr. Ann Suzuki. She is our Dean of Student Development, and Ann joined Chandler Gilbert Community College just at the end of spring semester, so she may be a new face for those of you who are off this summer. She has served students in higher education for over 24 years. Most recently, she was the Dean of Students at Paradise Valley Community College. And then I'm entering my second year at Chandler Gilbert Community College, and I've been working with student conduct administration for nearly 25 years. I shared with Ann and Yvette that it was so eye-opening when I just started kind of counting back the type of work that I've been on, and it certainly goes by really quickly. But I have a real passion for working with students in their development and education, and it really does line up with conduct administration. I'm a contributor to a book called Reframing Campus Conflict Through a Social Justice Lens. And I wanted to share that with you because it really frames how I approach my work in student conflict through a lens that's educational and inclusive. When we think about what it means to have a lens of care as we manage student conflict and student conduct, what that means for us is that it's a focus on community education, it's on student development, and so it's just this recognition that students don't come to us finished. They come to us with a lot of potential, lots of learning that still needs to occur, and through this process we can help our students in their development. The other lens is this idea of restorative practice, and that is a focus on relationships and helping students to repair any challenges that may have been created in a classroom with their peers, teaching our students to navigate the conflict that they may be involved with. It's a focus on inclusion over exclusion. When we look at student disciplinary processes across education, K-12, higher education, there are oftentimes students who get marginalized in those experiences. Sometimes there are students that may be overrepresented in these processes. And so the focus is to have a system that's inclusive, that takes into account the many different voices that our colleges serve. The outcomes that we want to achieve through our Student Rights and Responsibilities Office is to ensure that we treat our students with care and concern, that we try to have a deeper understanding of what may be going on with the student and what may be creating that concerning behavior. We want to promote the health and safety of our community. I often share with people that that's one of the most important jobs I have, is to contribute to the health of our communities and ensure that we have safe learning environments, both emotionally and physically, that we're trying to enhance our college climate, and that we're also promote our academic integrity. We often get asked, what are those most common concerns that come up? And often there are questions about a student's performance in the classroom and a perceived lack of integrity. And so really trying to unpack that with students so that we can help them to learn from any mistakes they may have made so that they move forward as a stronger student. I want to share a video on restorative practice so that you understand this lens.
Our world is changing at a breathtaking pace. Social patterns that have long characterized human life are changing dramatically around the globe, diminishing social bonds within families, schools, workplaces, and communities. But humans are hardwired to connect. Just as we need food, shelter, and clothing, we also need strong and meaningful relationships to thrive. With all this in mind, what is restorative practices? Restorative practices is an emerging social science that studies how to strengthen relationships between individuals and within communities. When put into practice, the effects are profound. In schools, students experience greater safety and sense of belonging, resulting in improved behavior, less bullying, and less violence. In workplaces, leaders facilitate direct communication among staff and address conflict as it arises. The result is higher performance, greater accountability, and effective collaboration. In criminal justice, new options allow victims and offenders, friends and family, to repair the emotional harm caused by crime. Throughout our neighborhoods, restorative practices give regular people more voice in the issues that matter most. In a nutshell, restorative practices is the science of relationships and community. Your individual daily interactions have a big impact on the world around you, at your job, with young people, and throughout your community. How we relate matters. This video was brought to you by the International Institute for Restorative Practices. To learn more, attend our flagship event, Basic Restorative Practice.
So that video gives you an overview of what we are hoping to accomplish through this concept of communication, building relationships between our students and each other, between students and faculty. When I think about a restorative practice, it's this opportunity to get the perspective of everybody who's engaged in that incident. So understanding the needs of our instructors, understanding the needs of our students, so that we can find common ground and help our students move forward. I want to provide now an overview of all of the services within our office. And the first is care reporting and referrals. And a care report is a way for you to tell us if a student has a need or needs to be connected to a resource. That will be showing you the simplicity form and how you can submit that. And while there are many resources that we don't have locally available to us, we've developed relationships throughout our community so that students have access to the things that they need. We also do Title IX sexual harassment reporting and investigation. And so Title IX is a federal regulation that as an institution of higher education, we have to adhere to the regulations in the space of sexual harassment, sexual assault, ensuring that students who report or employees who report have a fair investigation and that we address behavior so that it doesn't happen again. Again, in these processes, it's most important that everybody has an opportunity to be heard. There are recent Title IX regulation changes that actually went into effect on Monday. And so this Monday, and these regulations have been refined so that we ensure that both people who have an accusation made against them or the student who believes that they were a victim have an opportunity to have a voice. We also administer the student conduct process through our office, and so students do have to adhere to student regulations that are outlined in Maricopa policy, but there are also expectations that you might have as an instructor in your classroom that you've outlined in the syllabus. And when students are not responding to your classroom management strategies, then we can be a partner and be that consult with you as you try to navigate that with your students. We also have the behavior intervention team, which is coordinated through our office, and Yvette will share a little bit more about that service with you. But our behavior intervention team is just that. It's about intervention. It's about noticing concerning behaviors early so that we can intervene, get students connected to resources, or learn a little bit more about what's going on with that student before situations become escalated. We also will be offering training and education through our office. And so similar to this, we'll have workshops. But one of the ideas that we're also exploring are just some short videos that we can share with our instructors throughout the semester. We also will be building out a new website that's front-facing for students. And then Yvette has done tremendous work on the Employee Insight page where you can find additional resources. I want to share with you now just the structure of our office. And so earlier on, I introduced Yvette, and she is our program analyst. And the work that she's responsible for is the case management, so that as students get reported, it's understanding where those students are in their process, what follow-up needs to happen with the student, and ensuring that they have followed through any expectations that we've laid out for them. We also use a product called Simplicity to manage all of our reports. It manages the record keeping for the administrative processes, and Yvette is our lead on Simplicity. She will also take the lead on our training and outreach, and she will be the person who responds to any care referrals that you submit to our office. She's our BIT chair and serves as a hearing officer and Title IX investigator. Anne Suzuki is our new Dean of Student Development, and her role will be with some of that conflict resolution. She's also a hearing officer, but she also will help us do the assessment of our services to see where we're effective, where we can have more improvement, have a better understanding of what types of behaviors that we're seeing occurring on our campuses. She is also responsible for compliance assurance to make sure that we are falling within the boundaries of our district policies, making sure that we're in alignment with any regulations that we need to adhere to in a federal space. And my role as the vice president, my role is to be an appeals for students. So students who feel that we've not followed our process or feel that they've been treated unfairly. I also will work with Dr. Suzuki on our compliance assurance. That includes not only the student regulations, but the other rights that our students have in the space of ADA requirements and freedom of expression. I also will work with our community and our district office as a liaison to help problem solve any issues that arise. So while we outline the different roles that Anne and Yvette play and myself, what we know is that in order to have a community approach to care, it will take all of us. There are a number of people who play critical roles in helping us to understand the needs of our students and to help us to address any concerning behavior that comes up. And so we have our student here at the center, but we know public safety plays a critical role as they assess those more escalated incidents, but also in their role as that public presence, and they're walking around campus and they get to observe things that we often don't see. We also have advisors who are working directly with students, and their role has continued to evolve as we look at a case management approach in our guided pathways framework. A number of staff, we think about staff who interact with students in all areas. It may be their athletics coaches, it may be the custodian who sees a student coming through the hallway. Students may sometimes draw attention to other students. So either it's a concerning behavior or something they're worried about. Our faculty play a crucial role, especially in this virtual environment where you're spending more time with students than ever before, where some of our staff may have had that opportunity to pass by a student on campus and get to know them. Right now in this virtual space, our faculty have the greatest connection to our students. Our counseling faculty also play a critical role as students reach out to counselors with their concerns and their needs. And so it's through this network that we'll have the best understanding of how to best serve our students. When a student percolates with a need that creates a level of urgency or a level of worry, it's that network of support that will help the student move forward. As I shared earlier, our faculty are often a first point of contact for students. Because of the time that you spend with a student, you'll observe behaviors that others of us don't get to see. Students will also build a level of trust with you where they will share things with you about what's going on in their personal life. You may also notice concerning behavior that causes worry for you. I've had teachers reach out to me because they notice that a student, that their appearance has changed, where they now look like they're depressed or they look like they're no longer taking care of themselves. We get referrals from faculty who learn that their students have become homeless. What we are asking is that you keep us in the loop and that you share that information with us so that we can get students connected. We don't want for instructors to be afraid to report things. As I shared earlier, our goal is to help educate students and to keep them within the system when we can. But we can only do the help that's needed when we're aware of the situation. So we ask that you keep in communication, that you serve as that student advocate, and then we're always here to help problem solve if you're unsure of what step to take. I'm going to turn it over to Yvette now, and she's going to talk through about when we should make reports.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? All right. I'm going to take a few to kind of talk through when should we make a report through our Simplicity platform. And we're going to talk about Title IX and sexual harassment or assault reporting, care reporting, and student code of conduct reporting. Veronica, next slide. Thank you. So where do we report all of the incidents that might come through your classrooms or in your path walking around campus? Everyone has the right to submit a report when they see something that are of great concerns to you regarding the students and their overall behaviors. Where would you report this? You're going to go to the homepage of Chandler Gilbert Community College under the inside internal facing, and on the left-hand side, you'll see the big blue arrow that's hovered under human resources, where you will find that the toggle switch that says incident reporting form. That's where you're going to click to access the reporting form for reporting. Right? From that point, it's going to bring you through to a page that is kind of redirected from our district homepage. And you see here that it gives you 3 different categories to. The first one is sexual harassment reporting. The middle one is conduct reporting, or just general reporting altogether. And then the third one is care reporting. Under the sexual harassment reporting, you would click that open, and there it's going to take you through a series of questions for all 3 of the categories, actually. But you will have an opportunity to submit the report as it has been identified. If you're unsure, please make sure that you click on the middle one that indicates conduct. There are 5 reporting tips that I want to offer you. And the first one is multiple stakeholders who can report an incident. That's faculty, staff, students, and even community members. You'll want to make sure that in your reporting process that you are the reporting agent and that you complete the form in its entirety. Meaning, please provide prefix course number and section number. You want to make sure that all parties involved, you have their Maricopa ID number indicated in the appropriate field, and provide a detailed account of the incident that took place. You'll have a narrative box that gives you plenty of space to do so. And please don't be afraid to report. Communication is key, and in order for us to help you in your classroom and to support students through the learning process, report what is being seen as uncomfortable or inappropriate actions or behaviors, so that we are able to connect with yourself and the student to try to help them troubleshoot through the process. And if you have any other questions, you can certainly email me at the email listed in the link, and we will provide additional resources for contact information below. I am going to just kind of give you a brief overview of what that would look like when you report. So when you open up the reporting tool, it's going to give you the reporter information. The first box is your name. You have a drop-down box to report. Go back, please. Thank you. So on the first box, it's yourself, and then the reporter information. You'll make sure that you are giving me the correct spelling, your position at the college, your email, your reporting phone number. I've had some faculty give me their cell phone numbers. Your email number will work just as well. And there's also a drop-down box where you can include the student and or other invested parties in the process, as well as the next slide. The box up at the top, that narrative box where you can provide me with a overview of the incident that you're reporting. There are other additional questions like, did you contact college safety? Where did this take place? Was it at the Pecos campus, the Williams campus? Is there a follow-up required? Are you just reporting it to inform me? Whereas, for example, a student could have plagiarized on an exam. You've spoken to the student, but you wanted to report it to let me know that this has taken place. You're either going to tell me, yes, you want me to respond back to yourself and the student, or just to keep it on file. And then I will go through the next steps accordingly. You will hit verification and then submit. Next slide. What happens after you've submitted the report? The reporting goes through through our system, and it is brought back to myself through email. And so I am notified of reporting through the Simplicity platform, and I will at that point accept and review the report as it has come through, just to make sure that all the information that is needed to move forward through the next phase of the investigating process has been completed. I will always email you to let you know that I'm in receipt of your reporting, and additional information that I will need at that time, I will certainly ask that in an email back to you, and try to keep that open line of communications going between myself, Veronica, and Anne, so that everyone is on the same page and has a clear understanding of what our next steps are in supporting you and the student through the process. There's care reporting. Care reporting can be a host of things. We have students that may be homeless, food insecure. You're noticing that they're having some behaviors, and through your communications, they may be experiencing a disconnect at home or loss of jobs. And so here's where you report that, so that I am able to connect with the student and to ensure that I am doing my best to provide, whether it's internal resources, external, and referring them to the appropriate resources for help. And oftentimes, depending on the severity of the care report, I will redirect it to our behavioral intervention team, where they will assist with assessing the current situation that the student may be faced with, and how we can offer some positive resources or interventions to help support them and be as successful as they can possibly be. Title IX reports are referred to Veronica. She is our Title IX coordinator. And so as those come through, I will make sure that she's first point of contact with, here's the reporting. And again, we're always going to be in contact to try to make sure that we have all the information necessary to move forward and be as judicious in the reporting process and investigation if need be. There's student conduct investigating, and again, students that may be experiencing some high emotions, they're angry or aggressive, using inappropriate language, anything that is in violation of the student conduct. There is a list of conduct that I will make sure that you all have. I'll put it up so that when you are making a report, you can refer to it to see if the student has been in violation of any one of the college or district policies. There's always communication between our office and you, and if there's anytime you want to stop by when we do get back to the workplace and out of remote living, our office is always open, and I'm there to assist in any way that I can. Next. We have a behavioral intervention team. We go by BIT. So from this point forward, I'll use BIT. It's a little shorter. But the BIT team is a 13-member team comprised of individuals from across the college divisions. We have faculty members, we have staff, we have administration, student life, and these folks come together on a regular basis to meet and go through ongoing trainings to ensure that we are in compliance, that we are doing all that we can to look at strategies to help students get through those difficult experiences that they are challenged with. And they offer recommendations. They don't tell the program analysts what to do, but they offer advice and referrals and intervention strategies to support the student through a healthy process, and to ensure that classrooms, the faculty, are feeling safe and good and positive about the work that they're doing without experiencing any additional interruptions. So we are all a close-knit family. We work together, and it's to ensure that we are providing resources and opportunities and interventions to create a safe and healthy college experience. Now, I'm going to over to Anne, and through some case studies and further discussions about what you might experience, or things that have possibly experienced across the college campus at any given time.
Thanks, Yvette. Hi, everyone. I don't think I've met most of you, but I'm very excited to, at some point, get to meet you, hopefully when we get back on campus. So, oh, somehow I lost the PowerPoint. Is it still sharing, Veronica? I think you're on mute.
Let me, it looks like it's, Yvette, will you make me the share again, the presenter? Okay, I will turn it back on.
Thank you. And at this point, if you will, you can take off your mics if you want to participate and give feedback, because I'm going to ask you some questions. or you can respond in the chat as well. So we've taken just a couple scenarios. We know you all have seen so many. The first one, A, I'm going to read it out loud. You notice a student coming to your class seems to be displaying different behavior than normal. You notice that the student smells of alcohol, and his classmate said she was worried that he was talked about drugs with her, even though she hasn't seen him take any. What are our next steps? Any ideas? What would you do if you saw this in the classroom? And this one actually, all of these are actually true stories from some different places. Care report, yes, from Lisa. Thank you, Lisa. Yes, definitely fill out the report that Yvette was talking about. Julie, gently attempt to talk to the student after class to see if there are any issues or problems he or she is encountering. Yeah, that's a good one to do. And also follow up. Check in with the student. Yep. I would chat with the student privately away from the other students. Yes, absolutely. What about the second student, the one who said that she was worried about him taking drugs? Would you approach that student? Or would you say anything? Yes. Yes, from Amy. What would you say to the student who was worried about him? Thank them for their input? Yeah, absolutely. One of the key things, I would thank them for telling me and let them know I would take it from there. Perfect. Yep. I would say thank you for letting me know. Absolutely. You can let her know that you appreciate her coming to you and you will take the next steps. Yes. Those are all great responses. Definitely do that and then follow up in the care report so that Yvette and I can understand what's going on and that we would be able to talk to the student. We'd also talk to you a lot more about what you've seen. Oftentimes, if we do not witness exactly that the student has been taking drugs, it would not become a conduct case. It would be a care case so that we could help the student. Yes, sometimes a person can smell like alcohol even if they've not been drinking. Absolutely good example from Julie. We don't want to accuse the student of anything we haven't seen. Make sure we get the student to proper help. Awesome. Okay, that was too easy, it looks like, for this group. Do we need to remove the student from class? No, at this point, because you haven't witnessed anything that the student has violated. But I would definitely make sure you do the report so that Yvette or I can pull the student in and talk to them right away to make sure we can get the student some help or follow up on what we think needs to happen. And all of these reports will definitely keep the faculty member up to date so that you understand what's going on and we provide input and that you provide input as well. Veronica or Yvette, did you want to add anything to that?
Yes, what I would add, Anna, is I really like that so many people said that they would talk to the student and ask questions. Sometimes faculty will tell me that they didn't know that they could ask a question about something like that wasn't related to the class. And I think it's certainly appropriate for faculty to always do that personal check-in, even if it's as simple as saying, I just noticed you haven't seen yourself lately. Is everything all right? That students want to know that you care. And I think sometimes making those gentle inquiries will continue to help build a relationship between you and the student. We also want to invite you that if you are talking to students about things that make you feel anxious or you're not quite comfortable, to keep us in the loop so that we can help with those conversations as well. But it's certainly a good strategy to do personal check-ins.
I both and Veronica's comment. It's really important to establish those relationships with your students. Again, they do want to know that you care. And once you start showing interest, you will find that they are very open to sharing more of themselves. That will help you have a greater understanding of who they are and their backgrounds. which is really important to student success.
There was just a question also in the chat about if it was a safety hazard, if you're in the shop environment and suspect alcohol, definitely this one we'd want to talk to the student immediately to make sure that everyone is safe and that the student is safe. So can walk the student over or make sure that you can also tell the student that we need to talk with them before they return to the classroom environment, just to make sure we understand the situation as well. Okay. And relationships are key. And I like the consult who you're going to call list and proceed from there. That's great. Okay. Case study B. Within the second week of class, you notice one of your students is not taking the online quizzes, looks upset on your WebEx class meetings, and stops submitting homework. You've overheard him say something about problems with financial aid, but when you email him, he seems overwhelmed in his response. You are concerned since it's the beginning of the semester. What are the next steps that you would take? Julie said, let the student know we're here for him, file a CARES report. Yep. Yep, submit a CARES report through Simplicity. Yes, reach out to the student. What would you say, or what could you say to the student if you reach out to him? Yep. I would let CARES, yep, and let them know we are there to help him. Yep. Oftentimes when we see a change in students' behavior, there's something up, something is wrong, or they need some sort of resource on campus. I would direct the student to various resources through Student Life. Yep. I think absolutely, if you can help us note too, the more that you can document to Yvette, it helps all of us, because it might not be, we need a whole picture. So if more people report, we get more information to figure out comprehensively how to help the student. Let's see, I actually had this happen last semester, face-to-face class. I talked to the student privately, turned in a care report, and followed up with the student privately. Worked out great. Oh, that's fantastic. Really good. Meet online and discuss options of improvement and resources. Yep. Oftentimes our research shows us that within the first 5 weeks of class, that's usually when a student decides to stay or go. So the sooner, the quicker you can get any information to us. If we can help support by providing other resources, emergency scholarships, other types of help. So we support you as well. We usually can help the student quicker. Oh, I love this. Discuss the situation with hope. Yes, you can do this. How can we work together to help you be successful? Yes, very positive. Any other thoughts from Yvette or Veronica?
We do offer, as Anne stated, additional resources to support students through their academic and often their personal endeavors. Many of our students come to college, as you know, unprepared, not ready to really step into the classroom with the abundance of classroom assignments. They're lacking support with not having the academic resources, whether it be textbooks, Antrons, calculators. And so submitting a CARES report is another great way to help us gain a better understanding of what the students' needs are. And I can connect with the student as soon as I receive the CARES report, meet with them, call them, we can Google chat, but any way possible to connect with the student to find out more of what their needs are and to see how we can help them find resources, whether they're internal resources or again, community resources to help them along the way.
Okay, from Mary, she said sometimes when a student is feeling overwhelmed, they stop responding to faculty outreach. I can tell student is logging into Canvas, but they have disconnected from active involvement. When it gets to that point, another college voice can be good. Yep. So let they know that there's a lot, the community is larger than just the faculty member to support. Absolutely. Counseling resources definitely needed. I would also make sure to connect them with other than just email, especially in this online environment. Yep. Online learning can be isolating and they said they're overwhelmed. I would video chat with them one-on-one so they have an actual connection. Yeah, video chat's really good. We also have peer mentors this year, a new program, changing it a little bit. So we have that resource. Sometimes peer-to-peer helps. If you feel that's something of interest, let us know. And Maricopa has received a huge donation from Fry's. Yvette has already been helping students who have a need, basic needs for food. It's an e-gift card. So just so you know that, if you come across someone, to refer them to Yvette as well.
And what I wanted to offer, something that I think is sometimes helpful is when the instructor can make the introduction. So if you're taking a care report, if you can let the student know that you're doing that. I saw that in the chat. I think that's really helpful because it can be off-putting to a student when I call and they're like, how did you get my name? Like, who told you to call?
Yeah.
And so if you can give a student a heads up, I think that's helpful when that feels appropriate. When we're back on campus, students sometimes don't follow through. So if you say, well, you can call Anne or you can call Yvette for help, it's not uncommon that a student won't take that step. But if you're available and can walk a student over, that's also a helpful strategy. But I think anytime you can assist with the introduction and the handoff so that that feels seamless for a student, that's going to set us up for a successful relationship and communication.
I think that's super key, Veronica, especially the student often says, I'm so thankful my faculty member did that, and just is very appreciative and just feels really well cared for. So awesome. Let's see, another comment is I always have students give me their phone numbers. This online environment, a person phone call can make that person connection. Yeah, it's a good piece of advice. All right, let's go to our next case study, our last one. Okay, several student workers and staff from different areas have talked to you about a student that seems weird. The student hasn't broken any policies, but seems to make people feel uncomfortable and is either carrying a strange backpack or talking about odd dreams. What's the next step, or what would you do? Call public safety. Okay. Advise those telling me about this to make reports. Yep. So we can get more information. For calling public safety, what's the thought there? Are we thinking that person would intervene, or? Especially if the student is in a more open area of campus versus classroom. Usually, and Veronica and Yvette can correct me since I haven't been on campus, if something goes to our campus safety, public safety, my instinct is they're going to alert Yvette or myself or Veronica as well right away so that we can intervene with the student.
Yes, that's correct. And college safety or college police is really great in working with Veronica and myself, with the counseling team, with the disability resource office. Oftentimes these students could possibly use some support from either counseling or DRS team. They may be in need of accommodations that we are unaware of. And so getting them to us right away can really be of great importance and support to the student. Students just often don't know where to go. And so they're needing us to be those advocates, to be that guiding light, and to get them to the appropriate department or resources to help them feel safe and not overwhelmed. College can be overwhelming with just one class. So yeah, we figure students carry 2 and 3 courses, and if struggling with time management, that can also push a person to the edge where they're feeling alone, not sure of how to even get to the next class or complete the homework assignment. So College Police most certainly does work well with our offices, and we do our best to create a partnership in that sense.
Yes, thank you, Yvette. There's a lot of good things going on in the chat. Sometimes in the library, odd behavior, suspicious, disconcerting student or library user behavior was observed. Veronica said there's that campus safety can do a wellness check, which is often what can happen. I've seen situations where students seem weird because they had taken medication and they weren't feeling well, so they were out of sorts. We've had people come to us when a student's been on the spectrum and acting so-called abnormally and making people feel uncomfortable, but had nothing violent intended as well. So it is very subjective. From Michael, weird is normal in the arts area. The backpack could be full of other nonviolent stuff, right? So it's a fine line of accusing someone of something when we don't know enough information. Sometimes people just make other people feel uncomfortable because they lack social skills. Yep. A student can have a mental disability. Yep. It is a delicate situation. So I think calling any one of us in so we can meet with the student. We might have more information already on the student to help guide us. I think the best thing, as someone had mentioned earlier in the chat, is more information, the better, more communication. It's really helpful. Any other thoughts from Veronica or Yvette on this case study? I also want to point out, Julie had said, sometimes just not losing patience with a student is super helpful. Sometimes students don't intend to be difficult. That's a really good point. All right. All right. So those are the 3 case studies we have. We know there's a lot out there. So we kind of want to open it up for anyone who has questions about anything within the PowerPoint, any questions at all that you might have that we might be able to help support or answer for you. Yeah, from Julie, especially the online environment when communication is more strained and more difficult. Absolutely. Or more misinterpreted. Let us know what kinds of training you'd like or any other questions you might have.
You can type in the chat if there are specific topics that it may be helpful to take a deeper dive into, whether that's Title IX. We also are looking for faculty who'd want to partner on trainings around classroom management. That's something that we certainly can provide support for, but as the instructors, you all are the experts really in that space, and we can work with you to develop something that could be a tool for your peers.
So questions in the chat. What if the student says they have combat PTSD issues and they might have an outburst? Oftentimes we work with Dawn and the Veterans Center with the students, but you can definitely refer to us. I don't know if Yvette or Veronica might want to add to that one.
I'm going to say that I would reach out to Veteran Services as well as the DRS team and myself to make sure that all 3 departments are in the know of the situation and can meet and collaborate to talk about how to connect with the student and provide them with the necessary support.
Thank you, Yvette. But just let us know and we can help intervene with that, or just talk to the student or make sure that we're aware of the situation from our other departments. Thanks for that question. That was a good one. What do we do if you have students who do not respond to emails or they've stopped joining? That's like an early alert, definitely a care report or an email to Yvette. So we can reach out to the student and say, hey, what's going on? I remember we're talking with a student before who had just gone to every lecture, but then didn't go to the math supplemental piece, and they didn't know how to log on separately. So sometimes it's just a quick call to the student to see, can we help you? Did you stop going? What is it that you needed? Is it an internet issue? How do we help? Let's see. Ultimately, after reaching out to all the appropriate departments and attempting to help the student as best you can, you may have to accept that you cannot save the student. Yeah, it's a good point, Julie. Question from Kim. What about outside of normal business hours? For example, in the online environment, A student could email us late at night in crisis. Obviously fill out a CARES report, but what actions can be taken immediately? I have a couple of ideas on that, but they're from PV, so I don't know if I have given my phone number to the department chairs who can contact me. If it's a violence issue, safe or health consideration, absolutely public safety, especially outside hours, because usually they'll contact one of us as well. Veronica, is there anything else to add to that?
I think that would be the same. If it's something where you're concerned about a student's safety or well-being and it's occurred after hours, we encourage you to call public safety because public safety truly is the only office that's available to students 24 hours a day. So they're your best point of contact for any safety concerns. And then and I know that sometimes having the right phone numbers are sometimes hard to just remember. Do I call Ann? Do I call that? Yeah. Oftentimes how I'll end up getting connected is through one of the deans. So if you contact your instructional dean for something that happens after hours, then they'll know who to reach out to in that situation. Because we've had incidents that weren't necessarily let's say physical safety concerns, but it was an immediate concern and it was like at 6 o'clock and I couldn't find anyone. So usually reaching out to your instructional dean is a good first step, and then they can connect you to the right person.
Same question about students who stop online connecting, responding. Please let Yvette know, and we will follow up with the student or myself to figure out maybe it's something small. How do we, call them, text them, some way we can connect and figure out, did they drop your class? Did they move? Was it a simple thing? So if we can help in that way, let us know. Have I missed any questions in the chat?
And I just wanted to follow up with, to reach out to your students. Please know that it's not just one and done. I make multiple attempts to reach out to students. I will email them, call them. I will, if I have to, and it's necessary, I will connect with them at their classrooms just to let them know that we are here, we care, and we want to support them. So please, I will, in my powers to make sure that I'm connecting with the students and keeping you in the loop as well.
Thanks, Yvette.
I see a question in the chat about Dropout Detective. And so we are not monitoring the Dropout Detective analytics. That is a tool that we would encourage our faculty to use to do those first initial reach out. So I think that's the important piece too, that if a student stops participating, we know that the first most effective strategy was shared earlier in a chat, right? It's the teacher reaching out to the student to find out why they've stopped engaging. If students are not responsive to you and explaining why they stopped engaging, that's where you can give us a heads up so that we can do some additional follow-up with the student. Especially with the large numbers of students online this semester, we'll have to really work at this as a team. And the other piece that, I think we only have one event, so it could also be that there might be other people that reach out to students as well. So it's certainly going to take a team of people to do the type of outreach that we want to do this semester. Anne has also worked with Ryan Kane to scale out our peer mentoring program. So that's going to be another strategy that we use to help our students. And it may be through that peer-to-peer support that they actually may be more responsive than having an administrator reach out. So I just wanted to share that additional information. And there was a note, Julie, thank you for making that comment earlier about that. Sometimes we do all the things that we can and we engage as many departments, and sometimes a student, that we don't have the right type of resources or support that student may need at the time. But please know that we're committed to trying as many different things as we can. And then Julie, you're absolutely right. Sometimes as the instructor, you know that you've done the best you can, and sometimes just isn't the right time for a student to be a student. So we will do our best to keep track of everyone, but that role you play is so important. And then I see Buzzy made a note about the dropout detective. I'm glad that was helpful for you, Buzzy.
All right, I think maybe one last question, if there is one. Just a note too that all incoming students who've gone through the Coyote Kickoff, they have already been contacted right away by a peer mentor. So the peer mentors are also using Cranium Cafe, texting, phone, email. So there's been a lot of contact with our new students that have come in. Cranium's been a really exciting addition, and we've been doing some great things, especially this last Saturday, live online support and also appointments. All right. If you think of any other training types of resources, please let us know. Here's the information on each of us, our email, our phone numbers, call us. All of our numbers right now are working. So if you call this number, it will get to us through the soft phone connections that we have.
I want to thank everybody for joining us today, and want to thank Anne and Yvette for their work on this training session. Please keep us informed if there's other things that you would like to learn more about, and then certainly you can reach out one-on-one if you'd like to have a more private conversation about how we can problem solve student situations as they arise. But thanks everyone. I hope you have a great start to your semester.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I hope that recorded.